Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Chicago. We got January the 28th, 2026. We're after 5 o'clock when we turn on the comments here. Yeah, getting out of work. About 17 degrees Fahrenheit. What do we got? Negative 5 Celsius. 5:17 in the PM. We'll head up Michigan Avenue. Look how it's still daylight. So the days are slowly getting longer. We're over a month past the winter solstice, so hopefully my phone will last longer than it did this morning. I know it cut out early when we were at the beach there, but we caught the sunrise. Look how dirty the buses get. The buses get so dirty in the wintertime. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah, we'll head up Michigan Avenue and we'll head towards that John Hancock. We'll see the lights here in the magic hour, the twilight. Hey, look down to the South Loop skyline. Look at this nice grouping of buildings there. Hard to see with the lights there, but hey, we got to walk. There, going to Plainfield, 850. So the Pace buses go to the suburbs. These are the city buses. The King Drive, 95th, goes down to the end of the red line there, 57. Hey, we'll see if the Sportillo's ever opens up here. It's still got a lot of work to do. Hey, Rob on the road there, Grim Evil, how you doing? You're the first one, Grim Evil. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. GMJ, Imnap, how you doing there, Prince? So, Grim, you heard the sad news about Ernesto's cousin. I think you saw it this morning. Yeah, you saw. You're part of the whole chat, I think, and it's. Ernie had to go up to Minneapolis to support his family. Their cousin passed away due to poor guy was depressed, and because of he was detained by ICE. And I hate to bring that up, and such a tragic, powerful story. I'll have to talk with Ernesto to see how they want to speak about his life and commemorate it. And I want to respect the wishes of the family, so I'm just spread the news. If there's any more funeral arrangements, I'll pass it along with Ernesto. But he's grieving now. He's probably resting up and supporting his family there in Minneapolis. So, oh, is Ken's around here? Well, let's see. Is Ken streaming? I'll look for her. Sometimes I'm pretty oblivious, so let me know if you're watching Ken stream. Is she by the Riverwalk? We're by Michigan and the Tribune Tower. Yeah, there's always a Chicago live streamer walking around here. I run into Ernie sometimes. Easy works near here. Here's the London Guarantee Building. There's the historic Fort Dearborn. I used to stand right here. See, you see this on the sidewalk. That's what it is. This is Wacker, Michigan. We go here almost daily. I'll probably work from home tomorrow just because I'm getting tired of the cold. I mean, the cold, I understand why people get tired of Chicago winters, and this is my 27th Chicago winter. I've lived here 27 years, and in the city without a car in the wintertime. And it just, these 2 weeks, every day it gets down to 0, and you just get tired of putting on all the layers, and we're spending hours out here in the cold. But hey, we're doing the best you can. Hey, one Golden Nubian there. Rob on the road. Grim Evil. So here's the ice on the Chicago River. And it's funny if the algorithm will distinguish that I'm talking about ice on the Chicago River in front of the Trump Tower. Now I'll get a bunch of robotic algorithmic bots saying stuff politically because I mentioned ice on the Chicago River in front of the Trump Tower. This is how dumb AI is. There's that AI makes a lot more money than I do, so I guess they're smarter than I am. Here's the Wrigley Building Tribune Tower. We're crossing the DeSable Michigan Avenue Bridge here in the Chicago River. Look at the nice view back to the Loop skyline, part of it. And I know, yeah, we showed the construction crews were working outside on the 400 North Lakeview. I'll give an update to that. The video's still processing there. Actually not, I can do it, I just haven't gotten to it. I was working this afternoon. So, hey, But hey, there's the skyline of Chicago, the ice from the Chicago River. We'll head up Michigan Avenue. We'll check out the lights. Nothing big. Thanks for tuning in there. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, it's very corporate. A lot of corporate office towers. But there's more people living in the Loop now than ever. And you know, like people live in the Trump Tower. People live in the Tribune Tower. Now the Tribune Tower is residential. The Intercontinental Hotel is a hotel, so it's a type of housing. It's just very temporary housing. Intercontinental Hotel used to be the Medina Athletic Association, but these are still offices. That Jeannie Gang, St. Regis's housing. A lot of that's housing over there in hotels. There is some office there. But there's a lot of mixed uses. Mixed use is the way to go, in my opinion. Watch for falling snow and ice. Watch out. In front of the Wrigley building here. So hey, we'll head up Michigan Avenue. We'll check out the lights. Nothing big, very touristy. And there's the Tribune, the Intercontinental. Nice vintage skyscrapers. Yeah, it's a lovely evening there. Yeah, it's nice to see daylight. Yeah, it's not completely dark yet. All the prices, like imagine how much it costs to live in this building. And it's not only just if you can afford a unit, if you can pay the taxes and the insurance and the other maintenance fees. There's probably monthly assessment fees for the doormen, the shared amenities. It's always something to pay for. It shows you the concentration of wealth, even though America loves to disparage their cities because they are centers for crime and vice and poverty, and all the ills of society are concentrated in cities. Drug problems, crime, we know this. So is wealth. Wealth is concentrated in cities. There's more wealthy people in Los Angeles, New York, and the suburbs of Chicago than all the other wealthy people in the United States combined. So, and think of the political influence that has. All that money sloshing through the system. So you might hate big American cities for what we represent politically, but we still have power. And I know in the age of ice, now we see why we're getting attacked. And it's happening in Minneapolis. And I'm not going to convince you. You're not going to convince me. You know, it's so hard. Like at work, they said we can't talk about politics at all. So everybody's acting like nothing's going on. And then every once in a while, a political discussion will erupt, and people get angry and yell, and then we go back to acting like nothing's going on. And it's very emotionally charged times, and no one's going to convince anybody. Everybody's locked in and dug into their positions, and just going to have to battle it out. Battle for the soul of America here. Goes on every election cycle. Yeah, when we go to Brazil, yeah. At least Brazil's warmer. You got summertime now. We're in the wintertime here. We got 17 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 16 degrees Fahrenheit. We got -5 Celsius. Hugo Boss. Yeah, Grandma's Corner there. Jeff's Metallica fans tuning in there. Big Daddy, John. Tom Horman. Yeah, cities have function. Form follows function. Community spirit, yeah. That's why we show all these, you know, we're going to go to Chinatown. We're going to show Chinese New Year. We show all St. Patrick's Day parade, all the ethnic pride things. We did Columbus Day. We did Bud Billiken parade. We did, Fiesta del Sol. We try to cover, and that shows you all the communities, and everybody's welcome. We celebrate the variety of culture. How boring would America be without ethnic food? You know, especially Mexican food, some of the best, tastiest, low-cost food you can find. And it's good. And it comes from America, the three sisters. Beans, corns, and squash. The Native Americans, indigenous people, use those to sustain them. That's most of Mexican food is made out of maize, corn, beans, and squash. And cheese. What was Italian food like before the tomato? Because the tomato was indigenous to the Americas. Europe did not have the tomato, neither did Africa or Asia. Isn't that amazing? Think of all the cuisine that we associate with Italian food. Pasta sauce, all that tomato sauce, the red sauce, it all comes from America. So the sharing of cultures, see? Cultures can influence each other, be inspired, fusion, create new things, create hybrids. The intersectionality of culture and taste. Cats and dogs. Cats are hanging out with dogs. What's the world coming to? Yeah, where would Ireland be without the potato? That I brought that up too. That's a great comment. Who said that there? Let's see. Kira Cunningham. Yeah, the potato is indigenous to the Americas. And how much we associate the potato with Ireland, the Great Potato Famine. They got that boll weevil, but they relied too much on one crop and led to a mass starvation. A lot of people immigrating to the United States. And in the 1800s, it was the Irish that were despised as immigrants. And it shows you how the ethnic group that's, you know, and it was different. Back then, you just had to get here on a boat. And unless you were from China, Asian Exclusion Acts, unless you were Native American, I'm thinking that it's not funny. Here's Michigan Avenue. Here's Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Checking out the Christmas lights here. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we got the Mag Mile. Everybody's a star on the Mag Mile. Here's the giant Starbucks. We go by it all the time. 4 stories of coffee drinking. Used to be the Crate and Barrel. We're here at Erie Street, Michigan Avenue, checking out the lights. Hey, Allerton, tip tap tap. Yeah, the history of the potato famine is not what you think it is. I know. They look into it. Hey, that's a nice dog coat. But here's people. Starbucks Reserve Roastery, the Residence Inn. You go over to the Dree House Museum that way, the Murphy Memorial, and the Cable House. But we'll stick on Michigan Avenue because I don't know how much longer they're going to have the lights on. Here we are, January the 28th, and we've still got Christmas lights over a month after Christmas. But hey, why not? Hey, Mango, here's the new window display. Yeah, I saw Jennifer You Should Eat was on Michigan Avenue yesterday, and she's like, none of the boys film the windows. I'm like, I film the windows, just probably not as well as she does. She knows architecture and fashion better than I do, but that's great. I'm glad she was streaming yesterday and showing the windows here on Michigan Avenue. Mango, we show the Harry Potter. British landlords. It was devastating. So here, listen to what Kira Cunningham's saying. Afforded one crop for growing, but Ireland's food output to the family was phenomenal. It just went to the British landlords. So it was the British landlords that were starving the Irish. And that's thanks for it wasn't just the blight. It was the tyranny of the British landlords, and they wanted, just like Pullman, they would rather have a profit than pay the people working. And it was the exploitative feudal land system there, the British. And now you understand why the Irish, after World War I, saw that Britain was weakened enough that they could fight for their own independence, and that's why we have the Irish Republic. And because Irish resented British colonialism, as did America. Anywhere, India resented British colonialism, Africa resented British colonialism. It was an exploitative system. A lot of corporations today still base their corporate model off the original Dutch East India Company, British East India Company, which is, of course, why they took over India. It was a corporation combined with the military. Think about that. It was a form of fascism, but we didn't think about it that way. That's not how it was taught in history books. It was a monarchical system where the aristocracy benefited from the labor of everybody else. And now we kind of have it in a different way where it's stockholders. Now anybody could acquire stock and rise to the class of a wealthy stockholder. Look at Warren Buffett. It's more merit-based people that know what they're doing, but it's still exploitative. The corporate system exploits the workers. That's why there's profits. I'm not trying to get all socialist on you here. Socialism has a lot of problems too. The socialism is not a perfect system. I'm not actually advocating for this case. I'm just using the contrast and illustrate the point. There's got to be a third middle way or some other better, more egalitarian way to distribute wealth. But people exploring guaranteeing basic income. It's going to be interesting as we head into the age of AI, and if AI really does get rid of a large portion of our workforce, they realize they still need consumers. You still need consumers, and so they're going to have to pay people to consume. And we'll see how that plays out. Because what's the point of having humans? J.D. Vance wants to create all these babies if we don't have an economy for them to thrive in. Unless you're a billionaire. Only the kids of billionaires and millionaires, the people that own houses and have made it, they're the ones having the least amount of kids. Hoka, there's Hoka. Say, there's new storefronts opening up here on Michigan Avenue. Hey, we're up to the water tower. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago. We got about negative 5 degrees Celsius. We got 17 degrees Fahrenheit here. We got January the 28th, 2025. There's the John Hancock. Here comes the Chicago ladder truck. That's a Chicago number 3. There it is. Hey, you got the flag. It's a real Chicago fire engine. There's the Chicago water tower. Survived the 1871 Great Chicago Fire. Was built in 1863. Jennifer You Should Eat was showing inside the pump house over there. There's still pumping equipment. It was a standpipe to filter out the water and the fish before the water went into the drinking system back then. There's the Christmas tree. Hey, it's still Christmas in Chicago. End of January. Look at that. Yeah, historic water tower. Yeah, you see that fire truck? Thanks for tuning in here. Look, there's the look at that. There's the water tower. Chicago's postcard view. There's John Hancock. So you see this? Yeah, they used to, the horses would drink from that when they were like a horse trough fountain there. I like how they got like little lower thing for the dogs and cats and Dalmatians. Amazon robots are taking over. So there's Hotel Chocolat. There's a new bank going in there. Here, we'll go by Loyola. We'll head over to Rush Street. Paul Stewart, look at his colorful jackets. Yeah, you can see the tailor in here working. And Paul Stewart here on, what is this, Pearson? Block north of Chicago Avenue. See, there he is. He's working on him in the pants right there. Taylor, Paul Stewart, still at work. Saints of the city. Yeah, Wes, good evening. How you doing? Yeah, we might get up to the 20s. It's still going to be cold, but it's gonna, after we get through this week, it'll slowly get a little warmer. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm tired of this. Every day it's the same day over and over again. The lake's still trying to freeze over. We went to Ohio Street Beach at lunch. We saw the bike path. They purposely did not clear the snow. They don't want people going around that bend. People sometimes slip into the water there because of the slope. Hey, Bentley Gold Coast, Rush Street, Chicago, Illinois. We'll go by the Bentley Gold Coast, Lamborghini, Go Perillo. There's the seminary. Look at this beautiful feast for the eyes. We got this beautiful Gothic seminary, and then we got all these Bentleys lined up. Convertibles. You want to drive your Bentley convertible today? Ford has the Atlas robot. There you go. Hey, this is new. So this is a green Lamborghini. There's your green Lambo. How you doing? Very nice. Looks nice. There's the guy, he'll sell you a free watch. They got a bow on it. Look at this. There's your Rolls Royce. Yeah, very nice. And look, they got the lift, so you can lift right up there. Very nice. So hey, there's a nice view. Look at the John Hancock, the 900 North Michigan building. Skyscrapers here in Chicago. You go by the Rivian. See, this used to be, no, a block over there was a bank thing. So I guess they're going to try it again on Michigan Avenue. I hope they put a stock ticker up there, make it look like the NASDAQ or something. So it'll be like their little Wall Street. New England's going to get slammed again. John, yeah, you going to get more snow? Yeah, I think you got more snow than we did in New England. Well, here, I'll look into that. We're supposed to get snow on Friday. So, I got to look into that. Maybe that's why it's going to warm up a little bit. Yeah, travel. Yeah, Wes got good parking for his Lambo. Yeah, I'd rather have a private jet than a Lamborghini. I appreciate the design. You know, I would like to drive one. I'm sure I would wreck it. We tried to drive them in Gran Turismo. You can drive the actual specs of Ferraris and even like Le Mans, you know, Formula One style cars. They're very hard to handle. You know, yeah, you learn to respect the driving skills of those professional drivers at Monte Carlo and Indy 500 because very easy to spin out in those cars. But this is Wabash all the way down to the Trump Tower. You can see the Trump Tower here looking down Wabash, Chicago, Illinois. Denmark, how you doing? Thanks for checking out the views of Chicago skyline. There's the 900 North Michigan building. There's the Tesla store. So there's your Tesla car dealership here in Chicago. Yeah, difficult to drive those cars. Yeah, I don't know much about Supras. Again, sorry, I don't own a car, so you know, I'll be the first to admit there's a lot of things I don't know about cars. So yeah. I got friends of mine, they collect cars. They're always watching the shows with the specs and the new cars coming out. The Chicago Auto Show's coming up beginning of February. J City Walking Girl went to it last year. I don't know how much tickets cost. It's a pretty nice show, big floor there. You can test out a lot of cars. You see the robotic demonstrations. But here's, we're on Rush Street here at Walton. We're heading home from work here on a Wednesday night. Yeah, there's not a lot of electric scooters or bicycles in the wintertime. I did see some people riding a bike, but very few and far. Every once in a while I'll see somebody on a scooter, but I'm just amazed because I would not ride a scooter in these driving conditions. I have a hard enough time walking. But hey, the Lululemon, this used to be Gino's, the original Gino's Chicago style pizza place was here. I remember eating there before it closed around probably the Great Recession. It closed around then, and then it turned into commercial. Eventually Lululemon. See Madewell, all these. We're by Oak Street here, all the Hermes, Mont Blanc. I think we walked back on Oak Street yesterday, checked out the lights. Yeah, hopefully next week more people will be back on their bicycles. See, again, check out my YouTube shorts there. At lunchtime we went over to the lakefront bike path, and there's a section from Ohio Street Beach to Oak Street where they did not clear. There's still snow, and they got barricades there. They don't want people riding through there. And so the bike path is not clear from Ohio Street Beach to Oak Street Beach in Chicago. So I posted that so people could know we're trying to use the lakefront bike path. And we'll see what happens after Friday, if we get more snow or not. Yeah, the scooters. Yeah, you get a lot more rain than we get too. I know you get a lot of rain in the wintertime. We get snow and you guys get rain in Ireland and UK. Here's that's Oak Street here, Chicago, Illinois. They still got the Christmas lights up. We'll head through the scaffolding or whatever this is. 3 more years before you can retire there, Scott. Yeah, that's good. If you wear helmets or have lights, yeah, we see people like double up. They won't wear a helmet. There'll be 2 people on the same scooter. They won't be wearing shoes. All kinds of weird things happen. I wouldn't recommend riding a bike without shoes because, you got to put your foot down sometimes, It's just, there's people that have ran marathons barefoot. Here's Gibson's Steak and Fish. We went by Hugo's Frog Bar here on Rush Street. Is a nice steakhouse. Here, Mariana Park. Hey, Carmine's is back open. There's the Bellevue. Glad it's back open after almost 2 years of being closed. There's Lux Bar, Tavern on Rush. Here's Gibson's. Here, we'll head around. Where does the buffalo hang out? Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight? You're born in Hoffman Estates? That's good. Hey, Scott loves his career. That's good. Well, keep at it then. That's good. So here, you're a...
The problem is, commercials on, they'll take your money with the meter maid, not the police, the meter maid.
Oh, they're talking about feeding the meters there. So there's a security guy. He was asking a question about the meters right there. So, hey, Rush, this is where Rush and State Street converge. Yeah, no one knows what this economy, retirement was a concept of the Industrial Revolution. We'll see if it survives in the age of AI. We were in the information age. Most people, a lot of people go to college or are office workers, but we don't even know if they're going to be necessary in the AI economy. So we'll find out in the next 2 years. Things are going to accelerate. Things are already getting weird. Yeah, I'm sure Harry Carey hung out up here. A lot of the jet set and the high rollers, like Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack would hang out here. That was a long time ago in the 60s. But, see Lou Malnati's. Yeah, probably on Astor Street there was that club where the Rat Pack would go. It was a secret club. People go to the pump room. Hey, I'll walk you past the pump room. So we'll go right up State Street. I bet you Harry Carey hung out at the pump room. Now it's called the Ambassador Room. It's a hotel there on State Street. That was when Chicago was more relevant to the entertainment industry, people would hang out there. And maybe Hugh Hefner lived down the street. That had something to do with it too. He had his own TV program, the Playboy Club. He had the Playboy Club on Walton Street. So people would hang out. This was more a hep hangout area at that time. There used to be disco clubs here in the 70s. Mr. T used to work at a disco in Streeterville, I think. I think it was off of Michigan Avenue, somewhere over there. And that's where he got his shtick with all the chains and his bodybuilding. He was a bouncer. He was a bouncer for a disco. Imagine going to a disco in Chicago in the 70s and there's Mr. T not letting you in the door like Studio 54, but like in Chicago. And that's why no one would mess with him. And that's how he got it. I pity the fool. He would do that. Yeah, he did all that bit even before he was in Hollywood. And that was his bouncer persona. And that's Mr. T. And he moved up after the Rocky movies, and he got really famous and had his cereal and everything. You see that in Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. I remember eating Mr. T cereal. Who remember? It was just like Captain Crunch. It was just Captain Crunch with the T. But he bought a mansion up on the North Shore, and he cut down all the trees because the trees were messing with his allergies, and the neighbors were aghast because he cut down these 100-year-old like oak trees. He did it himself. He sawed. He was like a workout. He just sawed them down. Remember that, Mr. T? from Chicago. But hey, here's Division Street, Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, the chain flex guy. He was the original. And who didn't like Mr. T? Yeah, he was a bouncer at a boxing match too. Thanks, Chris. So he bounced at boxing matches. He bounced at discos. He probably did security for a lot of stuff. And that's what he probably did security for Hollywood. And they were like, why don't we put this guy in the movies? He's like the most interesting thing here, you know. B.A. Baracus, remember he was on the A-Team? Yeah, it was a sitcom. It was a TV show called the A-Team. And they were like Vietnam veterans that were all disaffected and traumatized, but they were like bounty hunters. Yeah, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper didn't like Mr. T. That makes sense. Roddy Piper was he was also an actor too. He was in They Live. I still recommend anybody watch They Live. Roddy Piper, he was a WWF, which is now called WWE, wrestler, Roddy Piper. But he also was a Hollywood actor. He was in a movie called They Live, and watch it now, it's very appropriate. It's about aliens trying to take over the United States, and he discovers these special sunglasses that only allow, when you're wearing the sunglasses, to see who the aliens are because their faces look like skeletons. And he's watching TV, and the TV news anchor is an alien. And he's like, oh, it makes sense. You know, it's just like the corrupt news media. It's run by aliens, you know. But it exposed the ideology. He would look at a magazine and it said consume. So if you ever seen like a Shepard Fairey obey with which is also associated with wrestling, he uses Andre the Giant. He used the image of Andre the Giant over and over again. Shepard Fairey, I'm sure you've seen the obey. You've seen it on t-shirts, hats, billboards, obey. That's where that came from. It was from the They Live. They would look at a magazine and you see the advertisement. It would say procreate, consume. It would say no thought. It would say just accept what everybody's saying. You know, don't push back. It's all the subliminal messages we get. And we got a good taste of it with what happened in Minneapolis. Think about it. Immediately, the administration tried to take control of the narrative. Immediately demonize the victim. Immediately exonerate ICE without even seeing the video. And that's why it's so damaging. People see it with their own eyes and you can tell. You know, and so we won't let them forget. So here's this is the Ambassador Room, Chicago hotel location. This is where the pump room used to be. We're in Chicago. We're on State Street. We're at State at Goethe. And see this happy hour specials. It's now called the Ambassador Room, the Chicago Hotel Collection. I don't know why they don't say Ambassador Room, but this used to be the pump room. People ask about this a lot. Frank Sinatra used to hang out here sometimes. Probably Don Rickles, probably a bunch of other people when they would come on the circuit to Chicago. We're on State Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. Heading home from work here. We got 5:50 in the PM. We got 15 degrees about, I'm guesstimating, and about -5 Celsius or lower. Marianne Strokirk. Yeah, nice salon there. Bruiser and Crusher. Yeah, the Moo and Oink commercials. That's good. Oh, Andre the Giant. Yeah, he could drink an amazing amount of beer and alcohol. He could drink like a whole keg. And he was amazing, you know. The stories are legendary about Andre the Giant. It took 2 seats on the plane. He had 2 first-class seats on the plane. He would fly commercial. Isn't that amazing? There's the Andrew Robori Art Moderne there with the glass block. And see, they built that later. This is Scott Street. Here, I'll cross the street here. Waiting for the traffic to move through here. Franken Rizzler, do you like ice? I got to find out what your angle is before I answer your question. So, Franken Rizzler, do you like ice, or are you a bot? I'm trying to figure out if you're a real human It sounds like an exact question that ICE would ask, an open-ended question, just to change the subject. I'm walking home from work here. Thanks for tuning in here.
I finally get to see
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for saying hello. Yeah, Brian, we're in Chicago. That's great. See friends and neighbors here in the Gold Coast. Here's the Andrew Rabori Art Moderne house here. Look at the glass block. Very nice. Yeah, friends and neighbors. Hey, you like Italian lice? Yeah, so Franken Rizzler, do you like ice? I asked you the same question you asked me. Okay, so I've been live streaming for 3 years. And it's not just me, my moderators notice this too. We get really good because we spend so much time with the chat scroll. We find indications of types of questions that bots would ask. And I'm not saying you're a bot, I'm trying to prove you're a human. And it becomes a Turing test, you know, and I don't have to answer any question there. I reserve the right. But hey, there's a nice street there. P. Diddy. So now someone's talking about P. Diddy. Hey, that's Kira. How you doing there? John. Wrestling. Yeah, you're talking about the wrestling. Let's go back to talk about wrestling. Okay, so you don't have an opinion. Okay, good. So that makes me sad. I would think, if anything, you would take a stand on something like this. I am against ICE. Thanks for answering my question. No, I'm not. I'm for. What did I say this morning? We should all celebrate the borders more secure. I'm thankful that the amount of illegal border crossings are way down. That's a good thing. We should all celebrate. The current administration could say, hey, we kept the campaign promise. I'm against mask paramilitary groups demonizing whole communities going through our center cities. Yes, we can have the debate. Maybe the sanctuary city, maybe we should get rid of that. I didn't create that. Lawyers created that. Don't blame that on liberals. You know, liberals went with it because they thought it was the right thing to do, but in hindsight, maybe we should not have done the sanctuary cities. I didn't realize how it was going to turn out, neither did you. So hindsight's 2020. Same with ICE. I think a lot of people that voted for Trump because they were excited about enforcing citizenship and making people that were sneaking through the system pay a penalty for breaking the law. But I knew it would end up being more adversarial than anybody anticipated. I don't think people thought it would get this bad. And we didn't. If I would have said before the election these masked men were roaming through the streets, just pulling people out of cars, going house to house, violating people's first and fourth, I don't think people would have believed me, but that's actually what's happening. And I know some people are okay with it. They're like, this is exactly what I voted for. You know, I have to. People are going to ask me questions. And then now, since you asked me what I think about ICE, I told you, now I'm going to have to deal with 20 minutes of hate mail in the comments. And so it's great. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah. There we go. Listen to Butthead there. A lot of senior ICE agents are pissed off at how things are going. They say the new recruits are politically motivated. It's bad. Yeah. Yeah, of course. You know, it's yeah, if you want to get paid to crackheads, call that number. They'll give you. They'll put you out in the street right away. We'll see if they train you 47 days or less. It's because Congress got a big bunch of funding. ICE is fully funded, even if the government shuts down. ICE is fully funded for the rest of the year, so even past the midterm. So it's just going to hurt other agencies, but I think they're going to do it anyway because it becomes a political cudgel to force the issue. We're thinking that it's possible that the current administration might start a war with Iran to distract people from what's going on in Minnesota. Wag the dog. The situation in Iran is horrible. They killed 10,000 of their own citizens that were protesting. We think we got it bad. We've lost a few people protesting, not 10,000. Here, let's head across here. So here we'll head over towards Clark Street. Here's the Madler house here. I think that's what they, no, is that what they, there's just the Gresham house. Maybe this is the one of the two here. It's the Graham Foundation runs it. Look at that beautiful detailing of the door. It looks like Louis Sullivan, but it's Schmidt. It's Alfred F. Madler House, Richard E. Schmidt, architect, Hugh Garden designer, 1902. Here we're at the Gold Coast here, state, and Burton Place. Yeah, Scott, thanks for bringing that up. Look how hypocritical it is. It shows you, this is how I fear we're losing our soul in America. We've become a nation where it's all about the money, where we will accept if someone has $5 million, we'll let them into the country. But if they're poor and escaping political violence in a country that's failed, we turn them away because we say we're a wealthy nation, but people don't want to help out too many people at the bottom. And it's just the nature of how societies have always worked. It's, you know, it's why I live in the city. I have urban alienation. I see homeless people. I just walk by and ignore it. And it's horrible because that's what happens, because you see it every day and you get desensitized to it. And that's what they're hoping people are going to get desensitized to ICE, where they just accept that there's always these mass people roaming around looking for whoever's undesirable. And the undesirable people are the undocumented migrants now, or illegal, whatever you want to call them, to demonize them. And that's, you know, that's the nature of language. That's why different parties use different terms for the same group of people. Isn't that amazing? But this could easily be turned against political enemies. They want voter rolls. That should scare everybody, that they want voter rolls. They want to see how you voted, so they might show up at your door if you didn't vote for Trump. This is happening in America. And if my fears are overblown, please tell someone in the administration to reassure us this isn't, because the message I'm getting from this is what they want to do. This is what Stephen Miller wants to do. Why does one little scurvy guy that wasn't elected himself have so much power over the policy of America? He's just an advisor, you know. And there's Steve Bannon sitting there. He's in the doghouse. They don't listen to anything Steve Bannon says. And he went to jail for them. Oh my. Hey, it's enough about politics. I know I've driven everybody away. See how one little question about someone asked an open-ended question if I supported ICE leads to all this. And they knew it was going to happen. You baited me into it. Good job. Congratulations. So here, welcome to Clark. And yeah, let's head up Clark Street a little bit here. Yeah, college should be more affordable. I was seriously looking at DePaul University, not just DePaul, any university. And I'm like, I feel, you know, I went to college over 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And it was much cheaper, and you actually could get a job. I worry that people starting college now, AI, it's going to be harder to get a job with a college degree because you're competing with an algorithm and an AI, artificial intelligence, to do your job. And so you got to be very careful what professions you choose in college to study to make sure it's not something that's going to be impacted by AI. And that could be a lot of stuff that they teach in college. Now, a liberal arts education still is valuable if you learn the history, humanities, overview of all knowledge, and be a well-rounded person. But it's not easy to monetize that in the modern marketplace. Industrial workers face the same thing. They were replaced by automation, assembly line robotics. We just think once, you know, self-driving cars, if they truly perfect it, it'll be self-driving trucks, semi-trucks, and delivery vehicles. Lose a lot of jobs. Content writing, yeah. Content writing, how to write something, how to formulate your thoughts, do an essay. Yeah, it's all. So I'm you know, college education still has value, but is it worth how much it costs now? That's you can kind of, if you're motivated, you could teach yourself, or do cheaper correspondence courses, online learning, adult education. There's a lot of things you can do. Hey, look at the so here's the Lighthouse Theater. Lighthouse Immersive Theater. It's in the Germania building. Look at this beautiful historic building in Chicago. This is a theater. This is an old movie theater. I remember seeing movies here. At least they say the facade, but we lost the theater that was behind it because they built this residential development where the Mitchell's Diner used to be. Old school skills, electrician, public construction. That's good, yeah. The construction, maintenance, mechanics, engineering, anything with engineering is still going to be needed. Well, not anything, but you know, not programming. See, programmers thought they were safe, but even programmers have already been impacted by AI. AI could do programming pretty well, like computer programming. But you'll still need to have computer technicians to fix computer problems. You'll need IT staff. IT are like the new auto mechanics, you know. I should have crossed the street here, but I messed up. I was talking too much. I missed my window here. Here we'll wait for the left turns. So hey, welcome to Chicago. We got Clark Street, North Avenue. Here's the Latin School. We'll head over to the Chicago History Museum here. And we got the light here. So that's the Children's Fountain. Yeah, it's no longer a movie theater. Fortunately, it's no longer a movie theater. I just saw your comment there. Here, this is called the Children's Statue. Even though it looks like it's really old, they made it like 20, 30 years ago. And they put it there. And they cast it out of old molds and stuff. This is Chicago History Museum, Clark Street. We'll go by the Moody Church here. AI 18. Yeah, thanks for your comment, John. That's what I was talking about at lunch. I did go off on somebody that just kept inserting MAGA and everything they did, and I was like, you know, I did an expletive MAGA, and you know, I was like, don't you think, you know, the Trump rising to power the second time was the backlash to him losing the election in 2020 and against wokeism, which was his rise the first time too. It was the birther thing against Obama and Hillary Clinton and all that stuff. James Comey, we know what happened. And so this response is the backlash to the sins of the Biden administration and the overreach of wokeism and how it made people feel all so bad. But we didn't do it at the tip of a gun. You know, cancel culture was wrong. I was against cancel culture like Bill Maher even when it was going on, because I could have been canceled too. Even people on the left get canceled. You know, it's everybody's subject to it. But the right especially felt it, and they felt powerless to stop it. So this is the backlash, and it's easy to demonize immigrants. If you want red meat for your base, all you got to do is demonize immigrants, and you'll find a political situation. Even Europe, that works, and South America, that works, and even in Japan, that works. Japan doesn't have much immigration. Although I did see Nigerians there in Tokyo, and I saw a few other foreigners there, mostly from the United States. But hey, welcome to Chicago. Here's the Moody Church here on Clark Street. Beautiful amphitheater. We went by the Chicago History Museum. This is Lincoln Park. We walk through here all the time because I'm heading home from work. No big deal. Chicago has a Ford plant. Chicago has a Ford plant on the south side. Did Chicago probably used to have a Chevrolet plant? I don't know if it still does. You're asking about Chevrolet. I know the Chrysler building was in New York, but that's not Chevrolet. And I think General Motors, but that's Detroit, right? Chevy's a Detroit company, right? General Motors. Am I right about that? Ford's a Detroit company too. Ford Motor Company. Here we're at LaSalle here on Clark Street. Let's do a check on gas prices here. So this is consistently one of the most expensive gas stations in the whole city. I can't even get it there. It says $3.99. I don't know if you can read it. It's very glare on my screen there. Oh, we missed the light here. Let's head across here. Got 12 seconds. I'm zooming into the gas prices. The History Museum is trash full of lies. You don't like the Chicago History Museum? I went there about a month ago. We checked it out, or at the beginning of January. I think we went there less than a month ago. Oh, the Buzz Lightyear gas station. There it is. Yeah, here's the Buzz Lightyear gas station. That's kind of what it looks like. $3.99. You can go a block south. It's like 25 cents cheaper. Go to the Shell at North Avenue in LaSalle. $2.34 in Kentucky. That's not bad. Yeah, it was much cheaper when my dad and I took a trip to Texas. You know, Arkansas and Texas. Gas was probably about the same there. That's good. That's nice too. I don't have a car. Yeah, the Ford City on the south side was converted to a bomber airplane construction during World War II. Thanks for the good information there, John. Yeah, a lot of, think of that. The Industrial Revolution and the capacity of the automobile assembly lines was utilized in World War II to outproduce all our enemies with airplane bombers, tanks, jeeps. America won the war largely because we were able to outsupply the Axis powers, and we kept damaging their factories as we converged on their cities and territories. Bill Clinton from Ghana, how you doing there, Bill Clinton? Texas needs the higher minimum wage. So I think the minimum wage in Chicago is at least $15. They did raise it to $15 in Chicago. I know it's a big deal in Texas. There are areas of the country where it's less. And it affects the cost of living. I know we have a very high cost of living. And it's a chicken and the egg thing. So they raise the minimum wage, then it raises prices at the fast food and the restaurants. And then they got to raise the minimum wage again. You're moving this year? Hey, Alexandra. I'm Rush with love. Alexandra. Zink. That's a beautiful city. Thanks, Dave. Oh, you're talking about gas prices? Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for specifying. Yeah, sometimes I misconstrue comments. It's hard to tell. Or at least for me, do the best we can. Here's the Hotel Lincoln. See the visage of old Honest Abe there, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln Hotel. This is Clark Street. But Lincoln Avenue connects here. Runs at a diagonal all the way up to Lincoln Square. So, hey, Chicago, Illinois, we got 15 degrees, 609. And we got -5 Celsius. If you like this, hit the thumbs up. Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, we caught the sunrise this morning. My battery didn't make it. This battery's doing much better. I'm at 65%, so I think I'm going to be able to make it all the way home. There, the Hotel Lincoln, 1816. If you go up to the top, it's the J. Parker. We went up there. We got nice views of the park and the lake. Federal minimum wage is $7.25, 30 years. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And that's to me, that seems far too low. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school going into college. It must have been the early 1990s. And I worked at a greenhouse. And before that, I worked at the Tasselin Corn. I worked construction. The first job I had, I made $3.75 an hour. That's as a 15-year-old. The Tasselin Corn. When I was 16, I worked construction. I made the minimum wage at that time was $4.25. I worked as a minimum wage construction day laborer when I was 16 years old for $4.25 an hour. And then that was in the early 1990s. So yeah, $7.25 doesn't seem much higher than that. I think in the late 1990s, they increased the minimum wage to $5. And people went nuts over that. They were like, oh my God, minimum wage is $5. What's the world? And that was with the booming stock market and amazing economy of the 90s and dot-com bubble and all that stuff. And then if we're to only be at $7.25, 30 years later with massive inflation, it's not enough. I wonder, you know, we have an economy that works well if you're at the top. If you got a bunch of stocks and already own your house, we got an economy that works really well if you're in that category. But if you're starting out, if you're young, if you got a bunch of college debt, if you're working a low-wage job, you just living paycheck to paycheck. And we look at the vast wealth of this amazing nation, and not everybody can experience it equally. That's the history of humanity. It's always the nature of how things work. There's the Hotel Lincoln, Clark Street. You know, that's why I try to show off as many things that everybody we can share for free, like the zoo. I know taxes pay for it. All these city festivals, I know the police and city services, our taxes pay for all these amusements. But now in my older age, I'm taking advantage of it. I would just sit there, all woe is me. I mean, there's always something going on. There's something to see, something to do. And it's just taking the risk. Yeah, the nature of thing, how things don't work. Yeah, the billionaires spend millions to lobby our government. It's the government of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations. That's why companies like Walmart get tax cuts, whereas they use government services to pay for. They purposely don't let people have full-time jobs so that they can use government services and game the system. Walmart does that. Has anybody experienced that working for Walmart? A living wage. Now you saw the river ice. Yeah, I'll cut out some of this reruns. I'll cut out, show some of the river ice that we saw earlier today. I just didn't get to it. Hey, thanks for checking out the reruns. I guess TikTok's still messed up. And up to silver. Yeah, gold prices really increased. Silver prices, it shows you the value of the dollar's dropping. The value of the dollar's dropping. They asked the president about it. He just laughed it off. And I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, if they really want this to happen, or if it's happening because people are selling American bonds. But people are buying municipal debt. It's another way to get tax exempt investment income. You can buy municipal bonds. A lot of cities are issuing massive amounts of municipal bonds, and a wealthy class of investor buys it up because it's all a calculation of beating taxes. It's taking your wealth and parking in a place where you can't tax it. That's why Peter Thiel was able to build a Roth IRA worth billions of dollars that is tax exempt. Can you believe that? And he was able to do it with fractional shares and packing it with a bunch of stuff that would split, and imagine be an early investor into a PayPal or Tesla. Here's Armitage Street here, Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. Tara, how you doing there? Silver's up 10% days. Yeah, it's amazing how much silver and gold is appreciating. And it shows you our currency, our fiat currency, is losing value. This was the same rationale that was caused people to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency is very volatile as well. And it'd be interesting to see how it handles during a real market downturn. The Federal Reserve spoke today. They did not change interest rates. The market was expecting that, so the market just kind of was like a whimper. Didn't really react much either way, because it was all priced in. Yeah, thanks for the thumbs up there, One Gold Nubian. Chicago in the building. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out Chicago. Here's Lincoln Park West. We'll head up Lincoln Park West. Here's the Lincoln Park Cultural Center, Clark Street. And then we just passed Armitage, 2000 North. So this is a nice residential building. It was built in like 1929, 1930, right when there were so many buildings in the works of this scale that were canceled because of the Great Depression. The city really never really recovered from the double whammy of the Great Depression and World War II. Yeah, I've slipped and fall. I got reruns where I slipped and fall. One time I was right over there on Armitage. I was walking. There's a Cleaners that's still there. They have a stoop. Old Town has these too. They have these stoops that stick out on the sidewalk. They're about 6 inches tall. They're like a little, step platform that's about 4 feet wide and 6 inches tall. I was filming a sign and I was pointing like that. My foot caught that thing and I went straight down. I did the rerun. I did it to Black Sabbath music. And I almost broke my finger, but it was okay when we finished the walk, and hurt my pride. One time I fell that bridge with the nice view over the North Pond. It got to fall. It was getting dark. The lights weren't on. There's rocks there. I was filming the skyline. I was pointing at the skyline, and my foot hit that rock, and I fell over the rock. And I wasn't looking where I was going, so that's why, yeah. The perils of live streaming are legion. Anything can happen. Just gotta roll with it. That's why people often ask if I walk. It is more dangerous to walk in the winter, because you could slip. But we gotta cover the snow. We gotta cover the cold. Lake Michigan's trying to freeze over. I might cut out some of that footage too. We saw a beautiful sunrise this morning over at Calm Lake with a reflection of the skyline. So Bugs Moran used to live in this building. This used to be a hotel, a luxury hotel apartment place. It's still a luxury apartment place or residence, 2100 North Lincoln Park West, Chicago, Illinois. And Bugs Moran lived there in the late 1920s. A lot of the Chicago mobsters and gangsters, including Al Capone, would live in hotels because they could barricade a whole floor, change rooms, so people couldn't ambush them, and then they would have their henchmen in the lobby so they could tip off if the police were there or anything. And Bugs Moran would do the same thing, and he lived right here. St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened a block away, and that's why it happened here. They wanted to lure Bugs Moran to assassinate him, but they didn't get him. They got 7 of his associates, and we'll talk about that on Valentine's Day. Grim's still tuning in. No parking, yeah. Yeah, I was bullied by pigeons. Oh, yeah, I almost fell that time. Is that what you're talking about, Grim? Yeah, one time I was on LaSalle Street by the City Hall there, actually by the Thompson Center, which is the new Google there. And I was in the median, and it rained the night before. This was like fall time, and there was like muck, like decayed leaf matter that was all mixed with the water. And it was like this slippery muck. And I didn't see it. I was walking backwards because there was a bunch of pigeons. Probably thought I was going to feed them. They kept following along, and I would take a few steps back, and they would fly close. I was like in an Alfred Hitchcock Birds movie. I was like, look at these birds. And then I almost did the splits because my foot hit that slippery slop, and my foot went out from under me. I almost did the splits. And I was live streaming. I was like, woo! I almost split my pants out. And the pigeons were laughing at me. They were like, we got him. They started pecking me. Yeah, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So yeah, in 1929, 4 members of Al Capone's South Side racketeering gang assassinated 7 members, well, 6 plus the mechanic that was associated with Bugs Moran's North Side gang. And it was the infamous line people up against the wall with the brick wall with the Tommy gun. You can go to the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. They've recreated the wall. For a brief period, a Canadian guy owned the bricks in his personal collection, but he sold it to the Mob Museum, or somebody bought it before that and sold it to the Mob Museum. And you can go see it there. The bullet holes are still in it. It's in Las Vegas somewhere. But yeah, it's on Clark Street. It's right across from the Chicago Pizza and Hamburger Grinder. We'll show it. St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago happened on Valentine's Day, 1929. Al Capone had an alibi. He was in Miami, Florida, at his beach house, or Miami Beach, or whatever it was. And the Godfather pigeons from the Animaniacs. You remember that? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it might be in Chicago for your birthday. Yeah, Grim Evil's got a Valentine's Day birthday, so let me know. We'll have to commemorate our lost friend Drew Drzezinskis. Grim, do you remember? I don't know if you saw the rerun or were watching that day. Chris was watching. It was February the 14th last year, 2025, and I was, I live up here near Clark and Fullerton, and so I think I was already home, or it was on a weekend, and I wasn't planning on live streaming, and I was on TikTok and I saw Drew Drzezinskis. May he rest in peace. He passed away last year. He was a Chicago live streamer. He was big with the unions, Amazon. He worked for Amazon. He was organizing unions against Amazon. And he would always walk through the woods and had a decent following. He was doing the same Valentine's Day massacre on Valentine's Day. So I threw on my coat, ran down there, and I ambushed him. And he was like, Brian, he goes, you're my Valentine's date. And that was Drew Drzezinskis. And we walked all through the park here. We were live streaming simulcast. He told all these stories about Old Kaminsky and how the restrooms smelled. And we've spent an evening with Drew Drzezinskis on Valentine's Day. Two weirdo live streamers without a date. How messed up is that? Well, you know what I think? I think Valentine's Day is a Hallmark holiday. I know I'm not a romantic. You think I would be more into this. But I'm just not. But hey, we'll talk about it coming up soon here in February. American language. Hey, well, thanks, Davo Soshi. Hopefully it helps out. I don't speak the Queen's English. I speak a weird mush mouse Southern Indiana mixed with a Chicago accent. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. English is a weird language. It has a bunch of French words, Anglo-Saxons, Old English, Middle English, Latin, a lot of Latin words. Belden. So here's the Belden Stratford. We'll show you the lights here. There's the William Shakespeare. We usually walk through the park here. Here, we'll show you the lights on the Belden Stratford. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to my mod team. Hope you had a good night here. And stay warm. From Chicago, we got 15 degrees, negative 5 Celsius. Here's Mona B got B. And if I walk up here, maybe we can take a peek inside the beautiful lobby. If I go too far in, I'll lose my connection. We'll see if the valet's here. This will be a good way to end it. We'll show you the beautiful interior of the Belden Stratford. And people are waiting here for the restaurant. There's fancy restaurants on both sides here. There it is, the Belden Stratford. Look how beautiful this lobby is. I'm just gonna stay and film. They restored this a few years ago. This Beaux-Arts French Renaissance Revival, Second Empire style. And we got this restaurant. We got Mona B got B. And do you know the name of this restaurant?
SKY.
SKY. Thank you so much. Thank you. See, I always forget the name of the restaurant. It's called SKY. And then there's the Mona B got B. So Mona B got B's right here. This is SKY. SKY. Hopefully I'll remember that. Restored 2022. The Belden Stratford, it was first built in 1922. It's an historic landmark building, just like the building that Bugs Moran lived in. It was always a luxury residential hotel. Some people lived there permanently. Some people would stay there at the hotel. They used to have those hybrid hotels in the 20s in Chicago. And they were downtown too. You're in Illinois, that's great. Yeah, isn't that nice? Thanks for checking out the beautiful lobby there. Yeah, thanks everybody. So hey, have a great night. We'll be back on probably tomorrow morning. I might just walk and we'll see if there's another sunrise tomorrow. I want to see if the lake's freezing over. The lake's right about ready to freeze over, and I want to capture the moment, and it might already have happened. And then we'll see if we get snow on Friday. So hey, have a good night everybody from Chicago. Thanks mod team. Thanks for the gifts, likes, and follows. Thanks for free. You could just subscribe. You don't have to buy anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Just thanks for tuning in there. Just interacting with the content both on TikTok and YouTube is fine with me. I'm on Substack there. Brian really Chicago on TikTok. We used it as a backup this morning, so it's good to if you follow me on YouTube and have TikTok. Even though I know TikTok's all messed up now, it's good to follow me on both. Because like this morning, I had some technical difficulties with YouTube, so I eventually switched over to TikTok, and we finished the live stream on TikTok. So TikTok's the backup to YouTube. YouTube will still be the main thing moving forward. I'm glad we switched for all this TikTok chaos. So, hey, stay warm. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll do this again. Have a great night there. Thanks, Izzy, Jenny, John, Kira. Thanks for the good information there. Kim, One Gold Nubian, and Grandma's Corner. John, David, Sabrina Suburban Garden, Scott James, Debbie, Lori Scarborough. Okay, we'll see you later there. James, John, Travel Stewart. Okay, if I missed you, Christy, we'll see you later there. Michelle, Dolores, Grim Evil, thanks for tuning in. Thanks a lot, Grim Evil. We'll see you on your birthday. Okay, bye.